at all that money, yeah, the money that they spent. Take another look now and take some time for hemp. I don't cut trees for paper, cause it hurts the environment. Stop deforestation, yeah, it's time for hemp. Oh, an acre of hemp makes 20 barrels of oil. No need for pesticides to poison all our soil. People got no food, they got no clothes, they got no rest. Well, right now it's time for hemp.
Good Lord, I'll tell you, it is time for hemp. I can't believe how time flies. It seemed like we were just here yesterday, chatting with Mary Lynn Mathery and Al Burns from Patience Out of Time. And now today, Canada Day, putting a spotlight on all the amazing, loving people up in the big country of Canada. And I want to say thank you for everybody who tunes in and listens. Truly, it rocks. I was quite surprised a long time ago to discover that I had a number of people that were listening in Canada, and that audience has grown over the years, and it is so nice to be appreciated by the hardworking activists up there. Much love to KDK Distributors and the amazing team that works so diligently to make so much happen in the marijuana movement. They also make magic happen here by being a sponsor on the big broadcast. Also want to say thank you to Al Grams and Jason Wilcox. They do programming on our broadcast now. We are no longer just the Time for Hemp 1 hour show. We are a team of people who are broadcasting from all around the world. And that, of course, is a shameless plug. We'll also remind people that every time you hear the word joint on the big broadcast, nearly 2.5 million people, we hope all around the world, pack their bongs, their pipes, their vaporizers, and twist up a joint and take time for hemp. Kelly Kristen, normally my joint host on the big joint broadcast on Tuesdays, is on holiday today in Mexico, and I know he's having a wonderful time down there. Send our love, and I hope he gets some good R&R on the beach. But that doesn't mean that I don't know what's going on up in Canada. I think that's how you pronounce it, Canada. And I've, with the help of Al Graham, am making a new friend today. And that is a new friend by the name of Marcel Gignac. Did I get that pronounced right?
You did.
I mispronounce my own name so often. It depends on what bud I'm smoking.
I usually don't even bother correcting people anymore. I'm so used to it.
I get called Leitch and Leitch. So I am Casper Leitch with Marcel Gignac. And you have been involved in the marijuana movement for some time. And you got involved not by choice, but out of necessity. Isn't that right?
Yeah, I was dealt a crappy hand, so I ended up having to resort to using cannabis as a medicine to try and save my own life.
Now, when you say save your own life, you're not kidding there. That it really, for you, as what's given you extra days and days of better quality.
Yeah, actually, it's given me extra years of quality. I was diagnosed I got diagnosed in 2009, but when I was diagnosed, I was more or less told that I shouldn't have been alive at that point because of what I was diagnosed with. I had a very aggressive and fatal form of multiple sclerosis. So things were going downhill fast, and I met with Rick Simpson, had a nice chat with him, and I started my own research to basically alleviate the suffering, but in the process, it's definitely extended my life.
Okay, now, how do you find your oil, and what exactly has the oil done for you? I mean, and how do you take it? How do you consume it? I mean, these are questions that, I know I have to ask these questions. I know some of the answers, but don't want you to think that I'm ignorant. But there's a lot of people out there who they are under the impression that the only two ways to take medical marijuana is either one, smoke it, or two in the form of Marinol, and that is not true. So I thought you
Well,
might.
Marinol is not really a cannabis to begin with. It's a synthetic form of THC.
Thank you for making that clear too. So why don't you let people know about how it is that you take your medication, and how was it that you came upon the idea of just saying, "Look, I know my doctor has 15 years of education and has dealt with at least 275 people in the last year with this problem, and he is recommending other treatments that I'm not going to do. I'm just going to go ahead and just throw it all in the wind and do something out of the ground holistically and just turn my back on what they're saying."
Well, it wasn't that I turned my back on them. In Canada, it's a little different. I mean, to get healthcare and a diagnosis, you kind of have to play the game as well. My issue was I was going downhill so fast that it was originally suspected that it was ALS or a very aggressive form of MS, but I needed proof to get a diagnosis of either way. At the same time, I started doing my own research, and all because I was stuck home. I couldn't go to work. I was just stuck home, sitting home anyway. So I just stared at the computer. And the research that I found was it really didn't matter if it was MS or ALS. Either way, symptom relief had already been proven by using cannabis in smoking it as well as eating it. But that was right around the same time that Rick Simpson's movie Run from the Cure had come out. And it just made sense that adding more cannabis would end up working better than just smoking it. Smoking it, I mean, you can smoke a joint and get maybe an hour of relief. I was smoking a joint and maybe getting 15 minutes of relief. So I had to come up to something a little more economical because I also wasn't working. So what I started doing was using whole plant cannabis. And that was basically all of the trim, the buds, and even the fan leaves, because the fan leaves have a higher amount of CBD when it's closer to the stalk type thing, and use that as a medicinal form. I ended up having to fire 7 doctors in that year and a half of getting an official diagnosis. And the reason I fired them was either for incompetence or outright lying to me, especially when it come to the endocannabinoid system and things like that, because they just didn't want to learn.
Now, that takes a lot of... You're dealing with a horrific medical problem, and you know for a fact you're facing it. Good God. How do you just wake up one day and go, "Oh, I'm sorry, you're not going to deal with the avenue I want to take," so you're fired. And then you got to go find another doctor in the middle of your treatment. You got to change things over. You got to go find somebody who can reacquaint with your case, and then become like-minded with you and work with you with your own regime. How did you? I mean, you're dealing with. I'm 59, so I understand mortality even more so now than ever. Okay, I got it. So you've only got a few days left on Earth. Now you're screwing around with that. How do you make these decisions like that?
I mean, your options are you can just give up and suffer and die, or you can pull your boots up and do something about it yourself. And for me, it was a no-brainer for me to start researching alternative medicines, because long before I got sick, I understood the concept of pharmaceuticals. The concept of pharmaceuticals are not for people to get better. The concept of pharmaceuticals are for corporations to make money. If they cure a disease, they lose a customer. So it's easier to use pharmaceuticals to treat the symptoms than actually treat the disease, because you're guaranteed more revenue in the long term. And as scary and horrific as that sounds, it's just a fact of life. People, if they get sick, become cash cows to pharmaceutical companies. So at the time of my diagnosis, I was taking 27 pills a day. 5 of them were to counteract the side effects from the other 22. And they were everything from antidepressants to analgesics to antispasmodics. I mean, I was on a host of literally everything. From the time I quit and started a daily regimen of ingesting pure oil as well as smoking cannabis, within 3 months, I'd weaned myself off of all of those medications. I got out of a wheelchair and started walking again. So was it the disease that was keeping me in the wheelchair, or was it the pharmaceuticals?
Really good question.
Yeah.
I mean, 'cause I'm one of those people. I would wonder. I mean, even though as much as I know, sometimes you can't help but just want to stop and go, well, even though I spent a whole life dedicating myself to this cause, I've got a doctor who's telling me I need chemo and I need this and and they're learned and I'm just some schlep and I don't know that much. So maybe I should listen to my doctor. And I would really be in a quandary. That's why I wonder how it was was that something that you wrestled with, or was it just a no-brainer for you?
Well, with me, what I ended up doing is I had a family doctor at the time, and he got fired for basically telling me that it was all in my head. It was all just my imagination. I was only depressed. And he told me that depression causes pain. And I said, well, wouldn't the same thing go that pain causes depression? He said, oh, yes. He says, but I'm 100% sure the only thing wrong with you is that you're depressed. So I'll write you a prescription. And I said, well, you've already written me a prescription for antidepressants. He said, no, I'll write you a prescription for oxycodone.
Good Lord.
And I said, but you just told me that this pain is from depression. And why would you be trying to treat a pain that is obviously imaginary? And he said, no. He said, I'll just give you the prescription for OxyContin, and that'll keep you quiet for a while. So he got fired, and I ended up going to the doctor that met me when I first went into the emergency room when I got sick.
All right.
And got convinced him to take me on as a patient, and we basically worked together ever since. So he doesn't tell me that I have to do this or I have to do that. We suggested every form of treatment that I've tried, and we've gone with what works the best.
All right, well, cool. And I can see why. I mean, unless I am crippled up from an auto accident, strapped to a hospital gurney with an IV in my arm, to my point of view, there's no reason for me to be taking OxyContin for anything.
Exactly. I mean, well, I've been adamant from day one that I won't take any narcotics. And I've had prescriptions for narcotics that doctors have written me, but I've never filled a narcotic prescription for myself, and I've never swallowed a narcotic.
All right. Now, when it comes to taking your medical marijuana, do you take it by the teaspoon, tablespoon, glassful, a syringe? Do you just put it on top of something and eat it with your cereal? What?
Well, what I've done is I got really sick a couple times over the last few years where the illness progressed drastically. I got some alleviation from a treatment that I actually had to go to New York State for to have done, which is an angioplasty, because they've made it illegal in Canada. If you have multiple sclerosis, you can't have any venous surgery done to you.
Why?
Because it's showing benefit and proving that it can actually work and allow relief. I had 90% blockage in my jugular veins, which means that the blood going into my brain was fine. The blood coming out wasn't getting out.
Right.
And then the blood dies in there and leaves deposits of iron, which then become oxidized and get attacked by the immune system. And it basically is multiple sclerosis in a nutshell. So because I got sick, one of the things that happened to me is it closed my intestines, where the nerves literally closed my intestines so I couldn't eat or drink. And this lasted a while until I got this procedure for $12,000, which could be done in Canada for $1,500 if they would allow it to be done.
That's nutty. I thought Canada had much better care. I guess not.
Well, I mean, Canada's healthcare is still run by the pharmaceutical corporation, same as everywhere else. So, multiple sclerosis as a multiple sclerosis patient in my condition, with the drugs that they would recommend that I would be taking, as well as the tests that would need it, my healthcare costs to this province would be over $150,000 a year. Because I use cannabis, I have no healthcare costs in Canada.
Wow.
So I save taxpayers a ton of money here. But also because I have MS, I also have a very low vitamin D count. And pretty much anybody with MS is going to have a low vitamin D count. So I had to start rethinking how I was using cannabis, because I was just taking the oil, putting it in a capsule, mixing it with little olive oil to give it a lipid because I wasn't eating, and ingesting it that way. After researching lipids and how lipids worked, and then the correlation of lipids with vitamin D, I've started mixing a mixture of pure cannabis extract, cold-pressed hemp seed oil, which is all omega-3 lipids, and liquid vitamin D for the last 3 years now. And my vitamin D, which used to be around a 28, your low level is a 75, mine was a 28, is now around the 75 mark. So I've brought my vitamin D up drastically. As well as not had to use any pharmaceuticals to do any of this stuff.
Good Lord. Good Lord. That takes a lot of courage and bravery, too, to deal with all of this. Now, I imagine you've had an amazing support group around you, and we'll talk about that after this commercial break. We have to go and pay the bills and let people know that we are appreciated by our sponsors. So why don't you show our sponsors some appreciation in return and go to their websites and let them know that you heard about them here on Time for Hemp.
You are listening to the Time for Hemp Global Broadcasting Network. Please share us with your friends.
THCF Medical Clinics are the premier physicians clinic in the United States. THCF has offices all across the United States from Hawaii to Michigan. THCF Medical Clinics has helped approximately 150,000 patients obtain their medical marijuana permits to legally possess, grow, and use medical marijuana. If you have chronic pain, multiple sclerosis, or any other neurological degenerative disease, or if you have any gastrointestinal disorders such as GERD, irritable bowel syndrome, or if you have AIDS, cancer, spastic disorders, seizure disorders, or glaucoma, call us at 1-800-723-0188 or visit us online at hemp.org. Again, the number is 1-800-723-0188 and the site is hemp.org.
In need of a ganja vacation? Blaze away at Hotbox Jamaica. Chill, relax, burn all day while watching the amazing ocean view. Listen to the birds. Bathe in the mineral waters of the Ganja River. Munch on tasty Jamaican Rasta food. Take a weed farm tour and hold a meditation. Book this amazing vacation for $420. Get the Sativa Special, 7 nights in Sativa dorms with ganja meals and airport transfer. Check us out at hotboxjamaica.com. That's hotboxjamaica.com. A Haya meditation vacation.
Indigrow is your source for affordable induction grow lighting. First discovered in 1891 by Nikola Tesla, Indigrow lights deliver 11 years of electronic sunlight to your plants. Indigrow lamps require less than half the power of traditional HID lamps. Converting to Indigrow lights means you'll cut down on your power bill with less lighting. Indigrow lamps also use 5 times less mercury than traditional fluorescent or HID lamps, making Indigrow not only energy efficient but environmentally friendly as well. No more switching out lamps between vegetative and flowering stages. As nature intended, your lights get a steady dose of UV light. That makes your plants grow healthier and stronger. Indigrow products are manufactured in San Diego, California, and come with a written 10-year warranty. What Tesla knew, then growers know now, is that Indigrow lighting is the cost-effective addition to your victory garden. To learn more or order now, go to inda-grow.com. That's INDA-GRO.com, or call 877-452-2244 to answer any of your questions. These guys really know lights. Indigrow really is your sunlight in a box.
Education and information. See what all the buzz is all about. It's time for hemp. It's time for hemp.
Blow, Chinese man. What's that you smoke?
Some wicked high grade or some gum made up and impress. You want to lick? See the chalice happy burn. Big and happy burn. Turn. Keep the ganja pipe burning. The good sense to me, I'm on yearning. A ganja man, they put you stiff in the air. And I wear it like you just don't care. When me sing again, keep the ganja pipe burning. The good sense to me, I'm on yearning. A ganja man, they put you stiff in the air. And I wear it like you just don't care. Turn. Weekday, yes, me have to crap it. Say it's a bad habit, but it make me fly like a rocket. Too much of anything will make you an addict. Yes, me feel stressed when me no have it. Come on, girl, I look good like Playboy Bunny Rapid. She smell it 250 back me have in me pocket. 2 slip chicken, want me pluck in a socket. Under me Guinness and me weak, me a walk it, yo. Keep the ganja pipe burning. For good sense to me, a man yearning. A ganja man, they put you stiff in the air. And I wear it like you just don't care. Chinese man a sing. Keep the ganja pipe burning. For good sense to me, a man yearning. A ganja man, they put you stiff in the air. And I wear it like you just don't care. Road boy from overseas, we no care, we no matter. This we be get flatter, man a real tapper. Big Mac double whopper, original showstopper. No say man a no whopper, but can't say man a no shatter. Light up we big it, make it bone down proper. On the time we real root boy used to real chopper. This the king blow, oh, your head pan a platter. Smoke a slip and relax, man, you too lapa lapa. Keep the ganja pipe burning. The good sense to me, a man yearning. A ganja man, they put you stiff in the air. And I wear it like you just don't care. Who don't feel listen me? Keep the ganja pipe burning. For good sense to me, a man yearning. A ganja man, they put you stiff in the air. And I wear it like you just don't care. Blaze up the fire, keep it burning. 24/7, 365, we keep it alive. Blaze up the fire, keep it burning. 24/7, 365, we keep it alive. When we light up me chalice, say me don't fear no malice. I'm a trouble them gone. When me light up me bang in a Buckingham Palace. Good for every Tom, Dick and Harris. Good for every Michelle and Alice. From London to New York to Paris. Ganja make you feel good and spin like Ferraris. Room. Ballad the Rastafaris. Chinese man a real ganja man, me now go parry no cigarettes, no. Keep the ganja pipe burning. For good sense to me, a man yearning. A ganja man, they put you stiff in the air. And I wear it like you just don't care. Chinese man a sing. Keep the ganja pipe burning. For good sense to me, a man yearning. A ganja man, they put you stiff in the air. And I wear it like you just don't care. Blaze up the fire, keep it burning. 24/7, 365, we keep it alive. Blaze up the fire, keep it burning. 24/7, 365, we keep it alive. Keep the ganja pipe burning. For good sense to me, a man yearning. A ganja man, they put you slip in the air. And I wear it like you just don't care. When me sing again, keep the ganja pipe burning. For good sense to me, a man yearning. A ganja man, they put you slip in the air. And I wear it like you just don't care.
Dum, dum.
Oh, I see. I was on mute and didn't realize it. Hey, Marcel Gignac, our guest today from Canada. I'm sorry. I had a nice opening and I did not realize my mic was on mute. So what's going on up there politically on the home front there, Marcel?
Politically on the home front, we're hoping we get a change in government with a government that has a brain.
Well, I have to admit, you've got ass clowns in office right now, and they tried to take away the ability to grow your own medical marijuana there, which I know that a lot of patients need, and from what I understand, the government marijuana sucks. And just make it so that if you want your medical marijuana, you got to go to your government to get it. Then an injunction occurred. So what's all happening with that?
Okay, so what happened is they had a program in place in Canada that allowed us to grow our own or have somebody grow it for us. And barring that, you could purchase it from the government that a private contractor was making available for the government. The problem is the stuff from the government was crap. And the program that allowed the patients to grow their own worked. And of course, they didn't want that to work. People were getting healthier and it wasn't costing them anything. So they decided to hold consultations with people that currently sell cannabis in Canada, not with the people that actually need it or use it, but the people that sold it, to come up with a program that allowed them to make every purchase or every patient in the country purchase it at basically black market pricing. So patients that were growing it easily themselves for well under $1 a gram, I mean outdoor production can be less than 5 cents a gram, are now being forced to pay upwards to $10 and $15 a gram.
Holy cow.
And what they're getting is basically grown in chemicals and then treated with radiation before it's shipped out.
Jeepers.
Exactly. So I can grow my entire year's worth of medicine for less than $500. And if I have to purchase it from them, I would be paying well over $150,000 for it. And it wouldn't be near the quality that I can produce my own.
Wow.
My disability pension doesn't pay me $150,000 a year.
So now, don't you think the politicians are aware of that, or do you think they're blind to the realities of the medical marijuana industry there in your state?
They're not blind to it. I mean, the studies have been around for decades. They've had the proof. Our federal government in the 70s commissioned a study in all illegal drugs, but namely cannabis. And the study came back and said that cannabis should be removed from the Controlled Drugs and Substances Act because it's neither a drug and it's non-toxic and it's not dangerous. The government ignored it. In 2002, the Senate did another study. Again, they were ordered to do the study on illegal drugs, and they come back with the same conclusion, that cannabis should be removed from the Controlled Drugs and Substances Act and used as or to be allowed to be used as people see fit, whether they want it or not. That, again, of course, was ignored. And the reason it's ignored is if they legalize, or I don't like legalize, if they decriminalize cannabis and remove it from the Controlled Drugs and Substances Act, then it allows it to be used for industry. And if it's allowed to be used for industry, then it's going to cut into the profits of the textile industries, the oil companies, the chemical companies, the forestry companies, and now construction companies. It'll kick into all of their profits. So they're going to hold every last shred of whatever prohibition lie they can come up with to basically keep it so the people can't have it. Whereas patients, we're the ones that are being really screwed over.
No kidding. It's like you're the last group of people in this whole mix that are being even considered.
Exactly. That's why we were never consulted on. I mean, when they did their consultations, that they said they consulted with all of the stakeholders. Well, they forgot the major stakeholders. Compassion clubs and dispensaries are not stakeholders to us. The fire department are not stakeholders. The police are not stakeholders. The only real stakeholders are the patients, but the patients were the only ones that they didn't talk to because they knew that the patients would never go for black market pricing on something they can do themselves.
Wow. Man, that is so sad.
Well, what's sadder is what our government did before they brought out that is they implemented a change to the criminal code or the sentencing in the criminal code when it comes to cannabis, and they made it mandatory prison sentences if you grow more than 6 plants.
Mandatory minimum if you got more than 6 plants? What? Really? They say you can grow 6 plants, but for God's sake, if you have the 7th or the 8th one, just to make sure that in case, like one takes a dive on you, you still got your medicine that you need. Oh my God, they're going to put you in jail?
That's what their plans are because they basically want to do a prison for profit system in Canada that they've done in the States, which has been proven not to work other than to make corporations richer.
And to build up a slave base because those prisoners make about $1.10 an hour, if that, while the prison's making about $35 an hour per prisoner.
Exactly. So I mean, it's all a devised plan to basically fill jails and make honest sick people into criminals. And because of their government tactics, what they do is they promote how much they're reducing crime. Now they have to compete with the news coming out of Colorado saying that they've decreased crime by 50% after they legalized it. If we had decriminalization, then you could have your crime rate dropping even more.
Right, and those stats are not just, people go, well, of course you decreased the crime. You're not arresting for marijuana. And they can come back and go, no, we've decreased violent crime by 50%.
Because people that use cannabis tend not to be very violent because it's a waste of energy. And why would they want to ruin that buzz that they have?
Well, and on top of that, the police departments now have the resources to focus on violent criminals.
Exactly.
And get them off the street. And the criminals recognize that the cops are no longer tied up with a marijuana bust, so we can go in here and kill Mary. And they got to watch their P's and Q's now.
Right. So now when you start looking at the statistics, because we have an aging population, we have access to information technology through the internet. What used to be the average age was between 20 and 30 for cannabis users. Now you're looking at the average age being between 50 and 60 because people are realizing that cannabis works as a health food or as a medicinal aid to the point where a lot of them can do away with the pharmaceuticals and get a better quality of life.
Wow, I tell you, the politicians here are starting to wake up. That's why, because the Canadians seem to be a lot smarter. They were farther down the road. Hell, your government even underwrites the cost of advertising your hemp industry on a global basis. I think that's fabulous. And then to hear that these ass clowns in your parliament are taking 5 steps backwards, it just makes you shake your head and wonder who hit the stupid button.
I look at the state of California as the best example of how Canada went wrong. The state of California basically has the population of the entire country of Canada. And both the state of California and the country of Canada implemented their medical marijuana programs roughly the same time. Canada right now has just under 40,000 licensed medicinal users. The state of California has around 750,000 licensed users. Where did we go wrong? How did they have 750,000 and we've had to fight to get 40,000 because of the bureaucracy they put into us even getting licenses to begin with?
No shit, and you're a whole country.
We're the whole country.
You're a whole country.
So I live on the east coast of Canada, and where I live, we actually have the highest per capita rate of licensed users. The reason being is we have a very sick and aging population here. And I would say that easily the average age of our licensed user here in Nova Scotia is about 50 years old. So these aren't a bunch of kids sitting around getting a buzz. These are people that are sick, infirm, and they actually need relief.
Well, I have often said there would come that day when these asshole politicians who sat there in the back of a limousine writing their signatures at the bottom of a bill they just passed against marijuana is going to go to their doctor one day and be told they've got some kind of horrible medical problem, and then discover that the best cure or remedy or treatment for the particular medical problem is medical cannabis. And they're going to have to go look themselves in the mirror and go, dumbass, you outlawed it. What the hell were you thinking?
Well, I would imagine that daily there are a few thousand Canadians that are ultimately wishing that exact scenario on our politicians, because they don't realize the lives they're playing with. And if it was to happen to them or someone they loved, I'm very sure that they would quickly change their tune and do it for themselves, but still not allow it for the people.
Well, one thing I got to allow right now is a commercial break to pay our bills, and I promise that when we come back from commercial break this time, I'll have my mute button off here at Time for Hemp.
You are listening to the Time for Hemp Global Broadcasting Network. Please share us with your friends.
If you are in the Portland, Oregon area and are an OMMP cardholder, then come down to Nikki's Diggity Dank Market, Portland, Oregon's first and only weekly OMMP market, presented by the Alternative Wellness Center, located at 5241 Southeast 72nd Avenue, 2 blocks south of Foster Boulevard, close to public transportation, held every Sunday 10 a.m. till 7 p.m., connecting quality vendors with patients. Nikki's Diggity Dank Market also has a weekly raffle with products from every vendor. So come down to Nikki's Diggity Dank Market and have fun while connecting with quality vendors and getting great natural medicine. If you are a vendor and want a chance to connect with OMMP patients, you can check out their Facebook page at facebook.com/Alternative Wellness Center or call 971-888-4392. Be sure to register early because space is limited. Nikki's Diggity Dank Market.
In need of a ganja vacation? Blaze away at Hotbox Jamaica. Chill, relax, burn all day while watching the amazing ocean view. Listen to the birds. Bathe in the mineral waters of the Ganja River. Munch on tasty Jamaican Rasta food. Take a weed farm tour and hold a meditation. Book this amazing vacation for $420. Get the Sativa Special, 7 nights in Sativa dorms with ganja meals and airport transfer. Check us out at hotboxjamaica.com. That's hotboxjamaica.com. A higher meditation vacation.
Indigrow is your source for affordable induction grow lighting. First discovered in 1891 by Nikola Tesla, Indigrow lights deliver 11 years of electronic sunlight to your plants. Indigrow lamps require less than half the power of traditional HID lamps. Converting to Indigrow lights means you'll cut down on your power bill with less lighting. Indigrow lamps also use 5 times less mercury than traditional fluorescent or HID lamps, making Indigrow not only energy efficient but environmentally friendly as well. No more switching out lamps between vegetative and flowering stages. As nature intended, your lights get a steady dose of UV light. That makes your plants grow healthier and stronger. Indigrow products are manufactured in San Diego, California, and come with a written 10-year warranty. What Tesla knew, then growers know now, is that Indigrow lighting is the cost-effective addition to your victory garden. To learn more or order now, go to inda-grow.com. That's INDA-GRO.com, or call 877-452-2244 to answer any of your questions. These guys really know lights. Indigrow really is your sunlight in a box.
Free? Did you say free? Free hemp? Free hemp? Free hemp video and audio? Free downloads of all the top artists, all the pot artists on planet Earth. Interviews with all the people making the movement, making the hemp movement. It's time for hemp. That's right, world. It's time for hemp. That's right, world. It's time for hemp.
Well, now, chocolate cake makes my poor stomach ache, and all those pills are too much for me to take. I don't like cocaine 'cause it makes me all uptight, but coffee and reefer makes me feel alright. Crystal meth will make you high.
Yeah, coffee and reefer does make me feel alright. Well, so I'll tell you what also makes me feel alright is that we are starting another new show at the end of this month. You know, we've got a show on Tuesdays and Thursdays, an hour each of those days. That's all in Spanish. And we've got a show on Fridays in the afternoons for an hour out of Paris, France. That's all in French. Starting at the end of the month, we're going to have twice a week, Monday and Wednesday at 7 a.m. Pacific Standard Time, a program all in Japanese. And that time of day is because in Japan, it's 4 o'clock in the afternoon. And this particular program will then be part of their 420 experience each of those days in the week. On the program today, big salute to all the amazing people up in Canada. I love you. You know I do. You're an amazing leadership in the marijuana movement has opened so many doors for so many people, especially those who need medical marijuana. My joint host, Marcel, Gignac, and I are having a chat about a problem he's dealing with, and that problem is multiple sclerosis, which is a chronic disease that attacks the central nervous system. And for those of you who don't know how this is going through our society, research will tell you that every hour in the United States, at least one person is diagnosed with multiple sclerosis. Every hour of every day, 365 days a week. So, and there's a lot of famous people you can check out. You know, Montel Williams is running around the country telling people how medical marijuana helps with his multiple sclerosis, as did Richard Pryor before he passed away. And there are a handful of other amazing people who, like Terry Garr, people don't realize she has multiple sclerosis as well. And so a little bit of research will make you aware that it touches everybody, even the religious people like the Osborne family. Jack Osborne As I'm talking about Ozzy Osbourne, and I was being sarcastic about religious people. They love religion like they love rock and roll. Anyway, with that said, let me let you listen to somebody who's dealing with this problem. I'm just learning about it. It's not an easy problem at all. Marcel, what kind of hurdles does having multiple sclerosis put in front of you?
Every day is an adventure. That's the best way to put it, because you never know from one day to the next how you're going to feel. After this many years, and with my type of MS, I've learned to figure out what triggers are going to affect me the most, and then how to combat that. So if I go to a speaking event, for example, and say a hemp festival or something like that, and I speak, when I get home, I'll spend the next 3 days in bed. And that's basically where I'll stay for the 3 days to recover from that one day of out speaking.
All right. And now when you smoke marijuana, does that help, or do you just need the oil, or is it a combination of both, or what?
It's a combination of both. And I had to explain this in court one time, and I think the best way to explain it is I ingest concentrated cannabis extract or oil daily. Every 4 to 5 hours I take another dose, and that helps alleviate the physical aspects of the disease, such as the pain and the spasticity and the tremors. I smoke it basically from sun up until sundown to help alleviate the mental side of the disease, which is the mood swings, the anxiety, the even the thoughts of suicide. So it's a combination of both to get through a day.
Well, and I do remind people that suicide is a permanent solution to a temporary problem. So,
and it's a permanent solution to a permanent problem too.
Well,
I'm also an advocate for assisted suicide, because some people don't have the ability to alleviate their suffering or to improve their quality of life. It becomes a controversial subject, but it's just a fact of life that people die. But people shouldn't have to suffer before they die. If you have an animal that's suffering, you can put it down humanely, but you're not allowed to do that with a person.
And I do understand that. My mother died of throat cancer, but in all honesty, for some reason, her need for pain medicine on a particular day was so great that with my dad and I there and the hospice and the doctor there, for some reason she just seemed to have overdosed.
Well, and I mean that's the other possibility that you have with pharmaceuticals. The advantage with using cannabis,
I'm saying? It wasn't really an overdose. I mean, I understand what you're saying.
Yeah,
it was listed as an overdose.
Yes, and I mean that's perfectly fine, and that's, like I say, that's always the option.
Right. So I understand assisted suicide. It's just a matter of knowing when to do it.
Yeah, exactly. There is a point where you kind of have no choice.
Anyway,
so it's
a happier
it's
topic
one of those.
Now, are you able to bring this information to other MS patients, or are you being silenced, and is there a group of MS patients who are working diligently to change things?
I mean, there's. Well, actually, I end up dealing with people from all over the world because of what I do and what I've done. I'm the communications director for the Medicinal Cannabis Patients Alliance of Canada, which is a federally registered not-for-profit society that teaches all people, patients and citizens both, the advantages of using cannabis for medicine and health. And I've written a number of different blogs on the effects of cannabis with multiple sclerosis, as well as working on a cookbook. Well, I won't call it a cookbook. It's a recipe book, because you shouldn't really cook your cannabis.
Well put.
The cannabis, once you've made an extract with cannabis and you've reduced it down to an oil, you can actually turn around and make food stuffs that are palatable to begin with, but you can do exact dosing. So you can actually measure how much dosage you're taking in a run of a day by eating 1 or 2 chocolates or hard candies, that type of thing.
Well, if they're properly labeled on the outside too, that helps. Do you have a labeling system in place there?
No, I know what's in mine because I make them myself, so I know that each piece that I make is the equivalent to half a gram of bud.
Okay, but are medibles available to patients over the counter?
No.
Oh.
Because of the way they have the laws in Canada, and Health Canada states that oral ingestion is the best form of using cannabis. They've made no provisions to allow people to do that. So extracts such as tinctures, pure oils, hash, they're all illegal because it's considered processing. You're allowed to eat cannabis in Canada, but the only legal way you can do it, according to the Criminal Code in Health Canada, is to eat just dried bud.
How does that taste? How does that taste?
Yeah, go out and eat some dried lung clippings and tell me how that tastes. It's pretty much the same thing.
Okay.
So our legal arguments have been the fact that, we are not cows. We don't have multiple stomachs. We're not designed to eat raw plant matter or even dried plant matter in that way. So Owen Smith in British Columbia had his trial, and it resulted in the courts finding that it was unconstitutional, and they allowed concentrates such as oils and tinctures to be had available in British Columbia only. We had a trial last week where we've basically done the same thing for Nova Scotia. We're now going to wait for a decision on a larger federal trial that's included the same thing. So the only way you could effectively use cannabis legally is to smoke it, which Health Canada states is not the best way to use it. But if you want to maintain freedom, I guess that's the only option you have.
Yes. Yes, and freedom you got to fight for too. You just can't.
Well,
you got to keep on top of it and tend to it and watch over it.
Oh, exactly. So it's a never-ending fight here because it's almost every month there's somebody new in court in Canada, and it usually has a constitutional challenge to it, stating that the laws are not just. And then they'll never be just as long as cannabis remains on the Controlled Drugs and Substance Act.
Well, we are down to the last couple of minutes. You want to give a shout out to an organization or an event or whatever?
Well, everybody can check out what we do at the MCPAC at mcpacanada.org. Patient stories as well as the educational material that we're producing. The other organization that I'm greatly involved with is MUM, which is Maritimers United for Medical Marijuana. Hal Graham has their chairperson on his show regularly as a joint host, Debbie Stoltz-Giffen.
Oh, she rocks. I love Debbie.
Yeah, so do I. She's also got MS, so her and I converse quite regularly on how MS affects us as we're trying to do this, educating other people.
Wow.
It's a draining situation, but what I've found is healthy people don't stick up for sick people. Only sick people stick up for sick people.
Yes, you're right. You're right.
It's just, unfortunately, people don't realize that the people that are most of the activists that are out there are doing this are sick people.
And sometimes it takes being sick to realize how fortunate we are to wake up and breathe. I
was one of those.
Well, like I said, we are down. So give one more shout out to your URL, and then I'll wrap it up.
Oh, it's mcpacanada.org. That'd be the one.
And I want to thank you for being a guest on our show today. It was fun making a new friend with you, and I feel honored to be in the same foxhole with you on the front lines in this war on drugs.
Well, thank you, Casper, and you keep up the great work.
Thank you so much. Coming up next, Hemp Works with Steve Danks coming out of Manchester, England. After that, Mike Bafari and Morgie Anasativa are doing a program out of Chile, all in Spanish, and 2 hours of great music to smoke with. And then we got all kinds of wonderful programming this afternoon and early evening here at Time for Hemp.
Look at all that money, yeah, the money that they spend. Take another look and spend some time for him. Don't cut